Tesla stock to $930 per share by June 20th, 2025. That is apparently where a lot of hedge funds and institutions are betting that Tesla can go. $930 per share over the next 6 months. That is essentially a double from here. That is my year-end price target for Tesla 2025, which was about $945 per share. If you recall that video that came out a couple of weeks ago, there is millions and millions and millions of dollars, many millions of dollars, that is positioning for Tesla stock to pretty much double from here over the next 6 months. Now, here in this video, I will explain how this can happen. Now, would I bet the farm on this? Would I put my life savings on this trade? Probably not. But it's actually not too far-fetched. And I know this is exciting to some people. This is very concerning to some other people, just depending on, well, if you're short in Tesla, you don't want to hear this. Okay, if you're long in Tesla, you probably love this idea. If you're like me and you want a better buying opportunity on Tesla, you got enough positioning, but you're just a greedy bastard and you wanted to buy more shares, well, you may not have an opportunity. Sorry to be the one to break the news to you. Now, as well as that, here in this video, I will share my prediction for January 2nd's delivery number for Tesla. This is Q4 deliveries. Wall Street is currently projecting about 515,000 deliveries. A number higher than that is good. A number lower than that is clearly bad. But I think if Tesla, let's say, were to come in at like 510,000 deliveries, like a slight miss, would not be the end of the world for Tesla, because Tesla's not, it hasn't been rallying based on Q4's expected delivery number. It's really been rallying on the expectation of robo-taxis coming in 2025, cheaper Teslas coming in 2025 to really increase the total addressable market from Tesla. And then Elon's guidance that he gave on the last earnings call for 20 to 30% delivery growth next year. Those are the main reasons why Tesla has been moving higher. I don't think it is all delivery expectations. So in a weird way, I think you're set up very, very well for January 2nd, meaning that if we come in and we beat those estimates, I think the stock could really be rewarded from that. If Tesla comes in with a slight miss, which I think is kind of the bear case, right? Would be a slight miss, like 505,000 deliveries. I don't think it would make or break Tesla. Just to throw that out there. So first and foremost, I want to discuss this post here from Yashu Sharma. This says millions pouring in for the 930 strike sweeps. The party is just getting started. Now, as I said in the last video, I think you're going to see a bit of a short squeeze into year end. Okay, there's only 2 trading days left of 2025. And I think you're going to see a lot of tax loss harvesting of covering on those short positions in Tesla. Okay. And I think mix that with some of the option activity that we seen last week and what we seen on Tuesday, yesterday. And you could be setting yourself up for a move as high as $520 per share by Friday's close. I think that's obviously a pretty lofty expectation, right? Tesla's $465 to get to the 540 level. It'd be about 15% upside from here. Like, it's not that crazy, but for a 2-day prediction, that's quite a lot. To get to $500 per share, which was my original prediction on Sunday by the end of this week, would only be a 7.5% rise. It seems very likely that we will hit $500 at least by this Friday. Question is, in my opinion, how high do we go above that? Now, here's the deal. We don't have any catalyst really left this week. You have initial jobless claims tomorrow morning. Other than that, you really don't have anything. And it's most likely going to be off to the races for Tesla stock. And especially as people look to position into 2025, I think they're going to come to the conclusion that Tesla's probably a great place to be, right? So mix a gamma squeeze with a short squeeze with overall enthusiastic investors, and you're looking at a Tesla stock that could be well into the 500s in just the next 48 hours. And that was part of the video that I put out, or that was really the main part of the video that we talked about earlier. Now, as far as Tesla deliveries for Q2, keep in mind, the delivery number will come out January 2nd. Wall Street is expecting a little bit less than 515,000. Now, over the next 48 hours, over the next couple of days, you will get new targets from Wall Street. They will either raise the bar or lower the bar. It's possible heading into January 2nd, we may only be expecting 510,000 deliveries as a consensus view. Okay, or Wall Street might push their estimate up to, let's say, 520,000 deliveries, as you get like Dan Ives and, your bearish and bullish analysts that come out and project their targets. It does move around the estimates. But from where I sit right now, I think the number is going to be really good. So how I calculate Tesla deliveries, it's a very rough approach, but it tends to be the most accurate approach. Here on this channel, we tend to have an accuracy rating that is almost unmatched by anyone else on, the internets, okay? And simply what I like to do is take the China deliveries, which, assuming next week you're going to see about 20,000 deliveries, this number could fluctuate. Okay, but assuming we get 20,000 deliveries, that's going to be looking at a total of 197,352 for Tesla out of China. Now, these numbers can vary because we're trying to figure out what the US deliveries look like, because we don't get any data on this, and that's the wild card here. Okay, the best thing we can do is look at Google Trends data. When we look at Google Trends data, there has been an explosion in Tesla deliveries. Now, Q4 just tends to be a very strong quarter for Tesla in Europe, in China, the rest of the world, and in the US. But I think this year could be a little bit different, and I'll tell you why, okay? Because of the $7,500 tax credit, a lot of people think that that is going away, okay, in 2025. And it very well might. I mean, it kind of looks likely that it will at this point. So to me, it seems like a lot of people are trying to get ahead of that and go ahead and get themselves that new Tesla before that credit goes away, okay? So I'm going to assume, based on that narrative, we could see 20% better deliveries in the US versus China. That would put the US total deliveries for Q4 at about 236,000, almost 237,000 vehicles. For the US, again, 197,352 for China. Let's go ahead and add those together. Right there, you're looking at 434,000 deliveries. Now, you can be as conservative as you really want with this, okay? And this is more of a best case scenario kind of situation, because the rest of the world tends to add about 30,000 deliveries a quarter, which I think that's kind of conservative. Lately, it's been closer to 35,000. That brings your total to 464,000 deliveries. Europe is around 100,000 deliveries, and boom, right there, you're at 564,000 deliveries. Okay, not including Canada, tends to be at about 10,000 a quarter. On the high side, you could be looking at 574,000 deliveries. On the high side, of course, if that is, presuming we have a lot of strength in the US, which, again, if there is ever a time to buy yourself that new Tesla, it's probably now, before that $7,500 tax credit is gone. I've actually seen a lot of people talking about this when I was at the Tesla dealership. Just inquiring about some of the new Teslas and asking questions. I like to do a lot of in-field research. That's what they said. Like, I just asked them, like, have you guys been busy? Has it been busy lately? And they said, actually, surprisingly, it has been very busy. And I said, do you think that has to do with people thinking the $7,500 tax credit is going away next year? And they said, yeah, that's what we keep hearing from people. So I'm assuming the US was really strong. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe. Again, if you want to be a little bit more conservative with this, you could say that, let's say that the US and China are kind of matched up, which I think the US is going to be stronger than China this quarter. Usually it's not, though. Keep that in mind. But now that Trump won and the tax credit's going away, that kind of changes things a bit. But assuming the US and China have exactly the same deliveries, which, is not going to happen, but assuming it's somewhere the same here, then you consider 10,000 for Canada, which is typically what they deliver in a quarter, say 30,000 for the rest of the world, plus 100,000 for Europe. You're looking at 534,000 deliveries. So, unless the US is just remarkably weak, which would not make any sense to me, I would actually be very concerned about the economy and the state of personal finances in the US if the US comes in with a really weak number. Like, that's going to draw a huge red flag. I mean, and again, Tesla raised prices on the Model S just this quarter by $5,000. I don't think we're seeing weak numbers here for Tesla. Okay, so I think that's more of in like a you could say a base case scenario, 534,000 deliveries, call it 535,000 deliveries is more reasonable. In a better case scenario, you could be looking at 574,000 deliveries. Okay. And in like a worst case scenario, if something utterly fails, like something seriously goes wrong in the US, which I think is very unlikely at this point, you could be looking at something like 150,000 deliveries for the US. Add that to China's total, you're at 347,000 deliveries. Add 10,000 for Canada on here. Add 30,000 for the rest of the world. Add 100,000 for Europe, and you're looking at 487,000 deliveries. That's if things went really wrong. Now, if we had 487,000 deliveries, I think Tesla stock's going to get punished a bit for that, with an expectation of 515,000. So here on screen, you have worst case scenario, 487,000 deliveries. Base case scenario, 534,000, closer to 535,000 deliveries. And best case scenario, you have 574,000 deliveries. Now, base case or best case, Tesla stock rips higher in January. Worst case scenario, 487,000 deliveries, Tesla stock struggles a bit, okay? Especially if we're a $500+ stock heading into that delivery number, okay? So I'm very optimistic about January 2nd's delivery number. I think in between the base case and the bull case is much more likely. I give this worst case scenario like a 5% chance, maybe 10% chance. I give the base case scenario like a 60% chance, and I give the best case scenario like a 30% chance. So I'm 3 times more confident that we could come in at 574,000 deliveries than 487,000 deliveries. Now, if Tesla does what I think it will do into the end of this year, Thursday and Friday of this week, and Tesla is a $500+ stock, then I think with a good delivery number like one of these two here, January 2nd, that's going to even help propel Tesla stock higher. Now, $940 per share or $920 per share really is not too far out of the picture, okay? Tesla's market cap today is $1.4 trillion. Let's say you double Tesla's market cap, okay? Double the market cap, you go to 2.8 trillion. You're up there with one of the most valuable companies in the world. Like, is that too extreme? It depends, okay? That would be Tesla stock at $930 per share. Now, it depends on your time horizon, if you're looking at Tesla with a 2-3 year time horizon, $2.8 trillion is kind of high. But if you're thinking of Tesla in a 5 to 10 year time horizon, you could come to an even higher number than $900+ per share. And a lot of my bull thesis for next year in Tesla obviously has to do with, I think we're going to get robotaxi in more than 2 states. I think it's going to be in 4+ states instead of those 2 that Elon guided for. I think profitability is going to do really well. I think all areas of the Tesla business is going to do well. But I also think inflation is going to come down more than expected. I think the Fed's going to be able to cut rates more than we're currently expecting. So when inflation comes down, the Fed is able to cut rates, then that extends people's investing horizons. Like the reason Tesla was at $414 per share, its previous all-time high in 2021, is because rates were at nothing. And investors were looking out 5-10 years at different companies and saying, where could this business be 5 or 10 years from now? Now, do I expect that rates are going to go down to where they were in 2021? Obviously not. But I think if Tesla could just extend its time horizon out, or investors could extend their time horizons out, you could say Tesla at $2.8 trillion market cap is not that unreasonable. So, clearly by June, that's kind of optimistic. I do believe we will get a correction in markets before June, probably a growth scare or a tariff scare, if you will. So I think the road's going to be a little bit bumpy. But $930 per share is really not that unrealistic. Again, if you have a 5-year time horizon, if you set it and forget it for 5 years, and you had to buy Tesla at $930, I don't think a 5-year time horizon is too demanding at $930 per share. Hey, what do I know? In the short term, I do think Tesla is going a lot higher. I do think in January, Tesla's going a lot higher because of Tesla deliveries. I think they're going to come in good. And that's really going to fuel the next round of enthusiasm for Tesla. The inauguration could get interesting around January 20th, because that's when you could see some volatility come into markets, upside or downside volatility. You could see upside volatility if Wall Street really starts to hold on to the good Trump business policies, like, M&A activity picking up, deregulation, lower corporate taxes, right? Or you could see that some downside volatility if you start to get investors that become concerned about tariffs, okay? So January 20 is definitely the next big event, I think, for markets from that standpoint. But I don't know. I'm very bullish on Tesla, and I don't see the bear case at this point. I know, infamous last words, but it's just my thought. Let me know what you guys think about this information down below in the comments section. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Merry Christmas, and I will see you in the next one.